Hey guys, today's topic of the video is going to be about Helene Cixous' essay, The Laugh of the Medusa. So in this video, I will be covering the whole ideas of Helene Cixous and the most dominant ideas in her essay, The Laugh of the Medusa. But before starting, I will suggest you to watch the videos given in the description box under the heading of recommended readings and recommended watch, so that you can get the idea what the video is going to discuss, what are the core ideas of Helene Cixous and Louis Arrigray. So the next video will be coming on Louis Arrigray. So Helene Cixous and Louis Arrigray. So more focusing on Helene Cixous. She was one of the pioneers or one of the mothers of French feminism. She comes under the title of Post-structuralist feminine theory, feminist literary theory, and her ideas are influenced by Jacques Derrida's Deconstruction and Sigmund Freud and Jacques Lacan. So she basically uses Jacques Lacan and Sigmund Freud's ideas and deconstruct them by using the theory, the philosophy of Jacques Derrida. I have made a video on Jacques Derrida's deconstruction and the idea of center. You should watch that before starting this video. So she was also a critic, a philosopher, and a playwright, an essayist, and so forth. And she is, still alive. I'm making this video in 2023 and she is still alive. So her famous work, which I will be discussing in this video, is The Laugh of the Medusa. So starting properly, so Helene Cixous, she starts from where Jacques Lacan ends his theory. So I have made a video on the symbolic of the Jacques Lacan. You should watch that if you want a total understanding of this topic. So, Jacques Lacan says that men and women enter into the symbolic world, or this world which has cultures and society which are ruled by patriarchy, or people or men who have penis. So they enter into a symbolic world in different ways through different doors, and positions of both sexes are different. So the position of both sexes are different in the symbolic order. So in this world, the position of both sexes, of men and women, are different. Like when Jacques Lacan says that men, ladies and gentlemen, there are two doors from which women, from the door of ladies, women and girls enter to this world, whereas from the door denoting the gentleman, we see boys entering to this world, to this symbolic order. So there are different things which we tell a girl to do and which we tell our boys to do, and there is a gap between those both genders. We encourage boys to do something and we repress girls from doing something. So that's the gap Helene Cixous is talking about. So Helene Cixous says that Lacan mentions the center of the symbolic order and the phallic system as a phallogocenteric system or patriarchal system. So Helene Cixous, she concludes that Lacan's idea of this symbolic order or this world is more patriarchal, and Helene Cixous is going to deconstruct this idea using Derrida's deconstruction in her essay The Laugh of the Medusa. So moving towards next slide, so let's understand what phallogocentric system is. So phallogocentric system, let's break this word. Phallogo means phallus, the logic based on phallus or penis, alright, and centric means centered. So a centered, made up of a center or a system which is centered, which comes around, which is centered around phallus or penis. And this concept describes Lacan's notion about structure of language. Alright, so remember that logocentric term from Jacques Derrida, that when he thinks that the Western thought and culture is centered around rationality, logic, and rationality and logic were madness, and speech is superior to writing. So rationality is superior to madness and speech is superior to writing. Similarly, men are superior to women. So there is so you should watch that video on the binary opposition, so that you can all get the idea of that how a word on the left side of slash is prioritized, and while the other word on the right side of the slash is degraded, is looked inferior. So moving towards the next slide, what does Cixous does then? So what she do? She combines the two terms logocentric and phallogocentric. So to describe Western culture as a phallogocentric based on the priority on the left term and over the right term in a binary opposition. So logocentric means the importance of logic, and phallogocentric means the importance of penis or importance of males. So in both center you have think that rationality and men are hold superior to madness or irrationality and women. So the madness and women are thought to be inferior and men and logic are thought to be superior. So the right side term is valued over the given and is given importance, but the right side term is viewed as other or undesirable. There is a concept of self and other. Self is what is thought to be loved and it is very near to you, and other is a thing which you feel that it is other. Let it go. It is undesirable. It is inferior. So all the Western history, Western history of philosophy, you have been taught that rationality is superior to madness. Why madness is not that good thing? Why? Derrida and Helene Cixous, they both are questioning the same thing. And why white is superior to black? Why men are superior to women? So that's the idea of whole feminism. So moving towards the next slide. So Helene Cixous follows Lacan's theory that child must be separated from mother's body, which is the real, and because the baby has to enter into the symbolic order. So in the real of Jacques Lacan, I will provide you the link where Lacan's idea of real is told. So you should watch that video, where to enter a baby in child into this world, into this culture, a baby is separated from mother, so that the baby the baby's attachment with mother is real, and there was no language. Alright, so there was no rule and anything. So to teach the baby culture, the baby is separated first from mother's breast, and then the culture taught the baby that these are the rules of the father, you should learn them, otherwise your penis will be cut, according to Sigmund Freud. So because of this, female body becomes something which is not represented in language and becomes what is not spoken and written in a phallogocentric symbolic order. So in the real, there was no language. Alright, so there was no language when a child was in the real stage of Jacques Lacan. So when it is separated from mother, a kind of leg or a kind of a kind of absence is created, and now baby will use its language to get attached, to feel, to feel love and affection. I have made that video previously in Jacques Lacan. So note that Cixous take maternal body a representation of all the female bodies. Female body is for female sexuality, saying that female body and female jouissance, which is female sexuality, is unrepresentable in the phallogocentric patriarchal symbolic order, because there was no language in the real. So there were no rule by any men in the real. So there was no language in the real. So the feel, the baby, what happiness a child feels when it is attached with the mother, it was of no words. It was unexpressible. So that's the simple meaning of this whole thing. Moving towards next slide. Cixous take maternal body as a representation of all the female bodies, and female body for female sexuality. So she says that female body and female jouissance, which is female sexuality, is unrepresentable in the phallogocentric or patriarchal symbolic order. I have repeated that previously as well. So how does she do that? How does she do that? So recall the Sigmund Freud's theory about female sexuality, and recall female Oedipus complex. When girls make a lot of switches from her clitoris to vagina, and second switch was from mother body to father body. The original love, the first love of every baby, whether it is boy and a girl, is its mother's body. But when a girl enters into a symbolic world, into this cultural world, the girl has to love opposite gender for the reproduction, for sure, for heterosexual reproduction. So the girl switches love from mother body to father body, first switch, and the second switch is what? When she stops masturbation and starts taking pleasure from her vagina. So that's double shifting. So, and Sigmund Freud also says that the female pleasure is passive while male pleasure is active, calling the male pleasure active, and female and calling female's pleasure inferior. He says that it is passive, and so that in order to become normal and non-incestuous reproductive heterosexual individual. So I will tell you again and again, you should watch these videos I am putting in the description box, so that you can get all the idea which I am discussing in this. Without that, there will be no importance for this video. I am telling you again and again. So Lacan's theory says that the adulthood means to enter. So what is adulthood according to Jacques Lacan? Jacques Lacan said adulthood means to enter into the symbolic order and taking up a position, while Freud's theory into this, and now you add Freud's theory into that. Helene Cixous says, so she adds Lacan and Freud's theories. So Helene Cixous concludes that for a woman to become into the symbolic world, which is the normal world, means that she will be passive, she will be vaginal, she will be heterosexual and reproductive individual, and that is totally against the nature of a woman. And I will tell you that thing totally into totally understandable way when I will be covering Lucy Gray. And that's why she promotes queer theory, lesbian theory, because heterosexuality is against the body of a woman. Being vaginal, being only vaginal, is against to the women body and her pleasure. Alright, so if you follow Freud, you will know that it is biased, calling women passive and calling them inferior and their pleasure inferior. This is a bias, this is a total biasness. Sexuality of women is passive and male organ and sexuality is active. How? How so? How can you just write that thing that simply, that women are useless, the women's passion is useless, their pleasure is useless, and men's pleasure is useful and it is superior? This is a total understanding of women body from a male perspective. Alright, so Freud interprets female sexuality under masculine standards. Male pleasure is active, but female pleasure is passive. When a female will get her pleasure completed when she is filled by penis in her vagina. Why so? That's a complete bias. So, moving towards next slide, what does Cixous concludes then? So she says that there is no female sexuality in phallogocentric system. First of all, in the world based on patriarchal words and patriarchal rules, there is no place for women's sexuality. A woman must build a world of its own. Alright, because sexuality is phallogocentric system is defined by keeping in view the masculine standard of sexuality, where presence of penis is superior to the absence of penis in females. Women don't have penis. It means, and Sigmund Freud and Lacan conclude that their pleasure is useless. How? Why? You have one thing, another doesn't have that thing. It doesn't mean that the person will stop living, or the other person will not take advantage of these things. How? The other person will find ways to take pleasure, and the other person is not incomplete. It's complete in its own way. So there is no place for female pleasure without male penis in the patriarchal system. So concluding it with the last slide, and next video is coming on the next part is coming on the laugh of the Medusa. So I will show the concerns of Helene. So last slide for this part. Helene Cixous asks, if a woman is forced away first from female body, first from mother's body, and then from her unique pleasure to bring her to a symbolic order. Alright, first she has to switch from mother to male body. Then the girl will switch her pleasure organ from clitoris to vagina because she has to fit into this patriarchal system. So it is possible for women to write. So is it possible for women to write and speak at all in this system? If the words are according to the patriarchy, then how a woman will use these words for her own benefit? So there needs a new dictionary, there needs a whole new civilization for women to use and express themselves and their bodies. So it is possible for women to write and speak as a woman in the symbolic order where males are favored over females. So is it possible or not? So I will tell you all these answers in the next part, which is the laugh of the Medusa. And to end this part, and a woman who writes or speaks does that so from masculine position. She used the words and ideas in this world which are based on males, and it means that the symbolic order is characterized by males, patriarchal or phallogocentric system where the authority on everything is of male. So male is an authoritative figure on everything. So how will women will be using these whole things? So structure of language is fixed and stable. So all these things are stable and fixed and rigid in patriarchal system. So each signifier has one signified, and this all exclude female body. You can also take an example like men has only one pleasure organ, which is penis, and women have more than one pleasure organ. There's clitoris, there's labia, that's vagina. I will tell you all this in the next part, which is lucid agree. So for this I will conclude that part, and I will be starting from the laugh of the Medusa. So until then, thanks for all.